If you're a man who struggles with ED, corn induced ED, PIED, you have trouble getting up whatsoever, your girl, the girl you're talking to, that you think you're going to have a future with, will absolutely leave you. Now, I've gone over 500 plus days on NoFap and even cured my corn induced ED. And man, I was having this thought recently, right? It just kind of crossed my mind. I was doing some brainstorming, thinking about this topic, and a lot of dudes who struggle with this problem, right, of consistently getting it up, they have this delusional idea that women will stick around. And it's insane, right? And it's not even logical. And I was there too at one point, right? And you have to understand that women are going to choose their best option, right? And it's just like men as well, right? Think about as a dude, right? If you have a ton of different options out there, what are you going to do? You're going to choose the option that's best for you. Maybe that's the most attractive, maybe the best mother to your children, whatever it is. But if you have a ton of different options, you're going to choose the best. Now, what happens to a lot of guys is, they've kind of been in an area, right, in a place in life where, they're struggling to get it up. And what happens when a woman runs into that is she absolutely vanishes from the picture. And if you had a situation where that didn't happen, I'm gonna be honest, I would be shocked, right? And the reason being, right, is because you have to understand that is how we're hardwired, right? In general, we're wired to, reproduce and mate with the partner that has the best genes, quote unquote, right? And if you have problems that a woman does not want to deal with, she will absolutely skate. But more importantly, it's kind of funny how some men, they let that situation just kind of hit them in the face, right? And it bruises their ego. But more importantly, you got to look at and fix what is wrong with you, right? You have all of these different things going on, right? Your lifestyle is probably all over the place. You don't have a ton of structure, right? And a lot of times, the problems that you're going through are a reflection of your actions that you're taking and really a reflection of your overall life, right? And a lot of times, if we look at and check out someone's lifestyle, right, what they're going through, what they're doing on a daily basis, are they watching corn, right? Are they not working out? Are they eating junk food? All these different things, you'll start to see that you're focused on such a minute problem when your lifestyle is trash. You have all of these things all over the place. You are all over the place. You're not consistent with anything, and you somehow expect to get consistent results, right? And you think a woman is going to respect you because of what? Because you think you're better than you actually are. You got to understand, right? The results that you get in life are a reflection of you, right? And how the world sees you and where it kind of puts you on that level, right? So just imagine like this, right? A guy who's making a ton of money, right? There's a certain value that he's provided to the world, right? And because he's making so much money, because he's providing so much value in return, there's going to be a certain level of partner that he can attract. Now, of course, you got looks. It's really looks, money, status, right? So there are a ton of different things there, but it's kind of crazy how, you have these dudes who, what makes a man, right? That aggressive nature, right? That ability to hunt per se, right? When he cannot do that consistently and he has trouble doing that, not only are you losing your confidence, but you're losing what really makes you a man, right? What really makes you, aggressive and fearless, right? A lot of dudes are living in fear, right? They're afraid to go approach women, talk to women, right? Do all these things because in the back of their mind, they have the performance anxiety. They're wondering if they can get it up or not. They're wondering, if I have a, situation where I'm unable to perform, what is going to happen to her? What is she going to do? Is she going to tell other people, right? Man, this is the mindset and the thoughts that go through so many men, right? And the anxiety, it's like, who would want to live with that, right? Because it's crazy how, in the past, let's go back 30 years, 40 years, right? The level and the number of just men with ED was, it was basically way lower. And then we started to see this surge where men, especially on the younger side, are starting to deal with all of these problems, right? And at the end of the day, any problem can be solved, right, with the right application of certain information. And it's easy for people to kind of give up on themselves and think, oh, yeah, this is hopeless. This is how it's always been. And it will never, never be able to change. But at the end of the day, if you focus on, the inputs and the variables, you kind of understand the problems that are going into this, and try to solve it, that's what's really going to change your situation. But man, that anxiety is just no joke. Like, I'm explaining the play by play, right? So a man, right, he approaches, maybe gets a number or whatever. Eventually, you might have a couple dates, things kind of escalate. And then when he's in that situation, his heart is pounding and he knows he didn't prepare, right? And I always say, you got to treat your body like an athlete, right? You got to understand, if you want to perform, you want to have a good performance, man, you got to prepare, right? You got to, if you play basketball, you got to get up shots in the gym, right? You got to train. You can't just, jump into the game and think you're going to be smooth, think you're going to do all of those things. That's just not how life works, right? It's not. And a lot of people just don't prepare, right? They get into these situations and then they wonder why, they're unable to, keep partners right after a lack of performance. Man, she's going to leave. She's going to leave, right? There's no loyalty in this game, right? And you got to understand, a lot of people don't even realize the type of volume nowadays that women really have access to, right? Now, let's be honest, right? A lot of the times, right, the volume does not equal, okay, someone is going to take a woman seriously, right? But even if you think, right, dating apps, and I was even shocked when I first learned this, but an average, I'll even say below average looking woman will have hundreds of matches. We're talking 500, you know, and all these inbound leads, DMing, DM, or message, right? For below average. And let's say on the other hand, you're a dude who, you're an average dude. Man, you're probably not even getting any matches. So you have to understand that, in today's society, the bar for a man is in a way even higher, right? You can't just be, the average dude and expect to get great results, right? So you got to understand, not being able to perform is basically, you have no relationship life. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Because a lot of people are gonna, walk around this and not tell you the truth. If you don't fix this, you're not gonna have a relationship life. You're not gonna have kids, right? You're not gonna have a girlfriend. You're not gonna have all of these different things, right? But it all starts with you and your habits, right? The simple one people always talk about, right? The corn. Corn is like a disease, right? They say it's the modern cigarette, right? Because so many people are introduced to it, and there's really no barriers on someone getting access to that. And of course, with the internet, right, everyone has phones, all of this, way even easier for someone to pretty much get introduced and not even understand what they're doing and what some of those potential downsides are, right? But as a man in today's society, you have to be on point, right? You have to be accountable for your actions. You got to understand that you have to put in the work to see the results. You're not a glitch, right? It's you put in the work and you get the results of the work that you put in, right? You reap what you sow. A lot of you are familiar with that. So you got to understand that there is no easy way out, right? There's, you put in the reps, right? You quit the corn, you get a healthier lifestyle, man. You drink your water, you do all these things. And look, I'm gonna show you right here. See this, man? We got the glass bottle. You can't be drinking and having all the microplastics, all these things messing with your hormones. No, hit the glass, man. You see, I got mine right here. But man, you start to do these things and you see that your life is starting to change, right? And you stay consistent in the gym. People start to treat you different, right? Even people always say, man, when you go on things like retention, right? SR, I'm just gonna say, because you guys know what that is. People start to treat you differently, right? You start to walk with a little bit more swagger. And you know why that is? It's because you're not lying to yourself. When you say something, right, you do it. You're a man of your word, right? You're being the man that you knew you were capable of being, right? The man that's not watching the corn, right? Not PMOing, right? Not doing these, not drinking, not smoking, right? And that energy, right? And that confidence and belief in self actually flows out, and people can feel that. People can feel when you're confident, when you believe in yourself, right? When no one can tell you anything because you just have so much belief in what you put out there, right? And faith in what you can do, right? And that works in so many different aspects. And one of the biggest things that people always tell me on these calls, when I'm helping dudes kind of fix their ED and work through these problems, is that it's the confidence. When you're unable to perform with women, man, your confidence is at an all-time low, right? And because why would it be confident? No one feels good after relapsing, going through the whole PMO, and especially if you're there with someone you find attractive, right? Maybe this could be a long-term partner, maybe marriage, have kids, and you're not even able to do the quote-unquote easiest thing, right? Which is hunt, right? That's really what it is. And with all the things out there that are honestly put in our society to weaken men and can weaken men, and you guys know, all of the hormones and all these things in the food, the GMO, all these products, this plastic, all these things that can affect men's testosterone. And what's in your control, you gotta take care of. If there's so many things that are gonna be outside of your control, that's very hard to even change, man, you gotta do the thing that you can control, right? The lifestyle and the corn, man, you gotta take care of it, right? But the choice is yours at the end of the day. No one is going to fix this problem for you. And what hurts even more, and I've said it in the past, is that time is not your friend, right? Because if you're not able to step up the plate when she needs you to, she's gonna find someone that can, right? She's gonna find that provider, someone who shows up when she needs them to, right? And that's in a lot of different areas. But if you're having problems down there, time's gonna keep flying by, right? And you're never gonna get that time back. There is no recovery, right? There's no hyperbolic time chamber, right? Time is not going to freeze for you. It's going to keep going. And a lot of times people just stay in that cycle over and over again. And they're just stuck and they can't figure it out and they can't put the pieces together. And that's how I felt too at a time, right? Where it was just that cycle where you're like, there's no clear information on how to solve this problem. Solve the corn-induced ED, the PIED, right? There's nothing out there. There's no clear, direct process. And that's what I help men with. So if you're a guy who, you struggle with this, right? You're trying to put the pieces together. Maybe you've tried NoFap, you tried SR, and you still can't put all the pieces together. You're still struggling, still trying to figure it out. And you want a step-by-step blueprint, someone to show you the way so that you can solve this fast and not have to go through the years of trial and error, missing out on potential partners or marriages or a mother of your children. And you want to fix this fast, right? Click the link in the description, book a call. Let's see how I can help you. And man, if you learned something new from this video, man, you resonated with the message, man, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.